Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Frostbite. You know their channels, you know their names. Well, let's get to know a little bit about them. I'm honored today to bring to you Hoosier Stacker. Hoosier, welcome to the channel.
Hello, Frostbite. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing out there? How you doing, Frost?
Doing well. Thank you for taking time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's only
So,
3 o'clock in the morning. Let's go.
I've got my Java and I'm good to go. Um, Tell me a little bit about your channel so that the users that watch me, they may or may not watch your channel. Most people probably watch your channel, but tell me a little bit about your channel and what it is that you do.
Well, my channel started back in early 2020. Actually, probably about 3 years ago. Next month, I believe. The Hoosier Stacker channel came to being because I was wanting to do something to give something back to the community. I was lurking for the longest time, and I really want to get more engaged with the audience and everyone out here in YouTube and elsewhere. So I wanted to get into that. And I distinctly remember, I was back when I first started, I was membering up with a Yankee stacking, and I was asking him, getting some feedback from him in regards to what can I do to grow my channel. This is back in, I'd say, mid 2020. And thought to myself, I need to really branch out. And so I thought, well, I'm going to talk to Yankee first just to see what his input is.
Yeah.
And the very first thing that he said to me was, Hoosier, what's your brand? And I'm like, what's my brand? What is this, a business promotion or business proposal? What's my brand? But I mean, this isn't a business. I'm not into this for being a business. I just want to do this as a hobby, right?
Right.
And then the more I got to thinking about it, I guess it is sort of like a business because you are selling yourself, lack of a better word, you are selling yourself for the audience, for your followers,
Right.
for the fans of the Hoosier Stacker channel. And I thought, well, what am I going to do that's different than the other channels out there? Because you got plenty of auction channels, you got plenty of coin roll hunting channels, you got plenty of history channels because there's a plethora of information out there. So what can I do that I can do that's different than other channels? And the more and more I got to thinking about it, my channel is to bring a place for everyone just to come together and gather. Hence, a Stackers Gathering, which is my first show, which is still running to this day. I wanted to bring together everyone out here in the community, inside and outside the community for that matter, that are familiar or aren't familiar with coins, who need to know or have knowledge to share. Just a common place where we can all get together just to gather.
Right.
Think of it like a water cooler talk. You know what I'm saying? To where you just come together and we just talk about stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be coins. It doesn't necessarily have to be one thing or another. I do try to stay away from the political stuff because, it is what that is. But we do try to, unfortunately, way things are economically and there is a correlation somewhat between precious metals and the economy, right? So
Yeah.
whenever we see things going bad in the economy, it's going to be reflected in precious metals, right? And the actual, they always talk about the spot price, and they always talk about paper and stuff. So that's what really drives the spot price, is the actual paper of the precious metals. But the actual tangibles, I mean, from a stacker's point of view or from a YouTube Joe Q public point of view, what we can do to manipulate the spot price is very minuscule in comparison to your paper holders, the people that really drive the market. But at the same time, we know that the market is as it is, but I still want to be able to bring people together and talk about stuff. And right now, we are transitioning from what I've been doing for the last couple of years, which is Silver Stacker Bingo. And we're getting back more into the talk of things. Like I said, Stackers Gathering was conjured up to allow that to a common place to bring people together. There's
Right.
no expectation of spending money. There's no expectation of being the sharpest tool in the toolkit, knowing all your stuff, because I don't know anything about coins per se, compared to a lot of people out here that know a lot about coins. But for me, as a stacker, I'm more into it for the weight of the precious metal. I'm into it more of as a preservation of wealth. I'm into it more from that standpoint, to preserve your wealth and to have something to help offset the crazy inflation that we're seeing today. And yes, to be prepared in case of a situation where things go south economically. And so that a stacker's gathering is being directed towards that point of view going forward. And this is just something I just noticed here in the last couple of months doing a Hoosier, doing the Hoosier Stacker channel for the last couple of months, is there's more to stacking than just precious metals, or as I call the shinies. There's more to stacking than just the precious metals. You have to stack your food, and you have to stack your water, you have to stack your skills, your energy, your protection. There's lots and lots of things out here to stack about. A lot of things to talk about, and that does involve stacking, your skills. Do you know how to tend a garden, for example? I do barely, but that's part of the reason why I built a Stackers Gathering, is to allow us to come together and just share knowledge, and to not only inspire but also aspire others to take care of themselves. And as the motto now is for a Stackers Gathering is, you're stacking your preparedness. That is what the channel is going forward, in addition to Silver Stacker Bingo. So we're going to have 2 shows. We're going to have a 4 p.m. show for a Stackers Gathering, and we're going to spend about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, so a small amount of time, because I don't want to brain freeze everybody. I don't want to information overload to occur. So we're going to do it in little tiny pieces, because I got stuff that I can share, but there's a lot more people out here with a lot more information that I don't have. So I don't want to overload anyone in particular. So we're going to talk a little bit about stacking your preparedness. What we're going to talk about this week, right? And then we'll talk about that for a while. And then we might carry on with that conversation for that particular topic the following week, or we may change it to a different topic. It's going to be very fluid, but I do know that as a stacker in this community, I do know that we need to be prepared. And it's not all about the shinies. It's about being prepared, yourself and your family and your loved ones, and just to have something to have just in case you need it. You hope you never have to use it, but at the same time, it's better to have it and not need it than not have it need it. So that's what the channel was based off of, was just a place to come together and gather and talk about stuff. And the last couple of years, last year and a half, we've been putting a lot of focus on Silver Stacker Bingo. But now that we're to this point, now it's time to change gears, put more emphasis on the stacking side of what the channel is about.
That's cool. One of the common themes that we hear is the community of it, right? Mm-hmm. Getting people together to talk like-minded interests. It's really cool to think about the community that YouTube opens up for us, right? Yep. Because you and I probably would never meet in a real life situation that didn't involve coins or stacking.
Right.
Yep. Our paths probably would just never cross. It doesn't mean that if we met, we wouldn't like each other. It just means that this gives us an opportunity to be. I mean, I live in Texas. I don't know that I would get to your part of the country anytime soon.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I do like about that, is it makes that really large community fairly small, so that we can have those conversations with like-minded individuals.
Well, case in point, Grove, Oklahoma last year. Were you there last year?
So I've been doing this a total of about 2.5 months.
Okay. So the answer there is no.
No.
That's okay. That's okay. But hang on.
Yeah, no, but I will be at the New Coin Show in Tulsa.
Well, we'll definitely cross our paths there.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things about coming together and gather. We actually had that opportunity to actually get together and gather physically at a central location, and met so many people there in Grove last year. Um, I say with the people that actually had uh, tables there, I would say there were about 40 people there, and I would say about 80 or 90 people were there in general that were there just to come together and gather at during as
right.
YouTubers and in the coin community. That was great. Met so many people there, so many so many like-minded individuals there, and that's the big thing is you had the yeah, you may have your different walks of life, right? But you do have a common thing, and that is to be prepared. And even though you may not be a true prepare guy, commando type of person, I think a lot of us out here, about 85, 9%, maybe more than that, they want to be prepared sensibly, but not all commando, right? So I think a lot of people that were there at the show last year have the same mindset as I when it comes to being prepared. And one of the biggest um, preps that you have to have in order to be prepared is knowledge. And that
Yeah.
is, like I said earlier, there's a plethora out here when it comes to knowledge and many things in stacking, and that's what I'm trying to bring everyone together so we can talk about it.
Well, and I like that you say that. My real world, I do process improvement. And so one of the things that we try to get people to understand is you don't have to be the expert on everything.
Hmm.
It's your team, it's
Right.
surrounding yourself with people. So if I am really good at the numismatic side and you're really good at stacking, and we're trying to figure out how to best manage it, then we may want to find somebody who's really good at strategy,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. It's
We
true.
both could benefit from that. And so that's one thing that really this community really affords us because as you talk to people, you ebb and flow through groups, right? You're going to have cores of groups, and that's just going to happen. We're going to fall into our mac or micro systems, right?
Yeah.
We
Right.
have the big
Yep.
macro system, but we're going to fall into our micro systems.
Right. Hmm.
Um, but it's being able to ebb and flow and learn and grow. And as you grow, you become the thing that you sought, right? And then you get to do that for others. So you get to be the
Yeah.
person that they go to. And it's mentorship and counselorship and friendship and community building and knowledge building. And it's a lot of fun. It really
Well,
is a lot of fun.
to aspire and inspire. That's the big thing about this channel. Is as I said, I'm still learning my ropes.
Right.
For example, I didn't know if Franklin a Benji, as I call them, your Benjamin Franklin half dollars before 1964 or 1965, I should say, was 9% silver. In fact, I didn't even know what a Benjamin Franklin half dollar was until about a year and a half ago when I started to introduce them into the community through my channel. Yeah, I know I didn't know Benji's exist. I didn't even know that 40% candies existed until about a year ago. So yeah, it's definitely a growing process. I never was exposed to it when I was growing up, so for me, this is very new for me in regards
Right.
to getting into the coins of things. Because as a stacker, it's all about the weight for me, not necessarily about the numismatics. Now, I do have a few collector books here, but nothing in comparison to what a lot of people have when it comes to what they collect.
Yeah, but again, even as a stacker, and I talked with this with Uncle Sal. Everybody knows Salivate Metal, Uncle
Oh yeah.
Sal, constitutional stacker, and university stacker. I've had a couple people that are primary stackers.
Hmm.
And again, you have to have some numismatic knowledge because you could have a gold coin that is worth, 2 grand in stack value,
Right.
but it's worth 10 grand in numismatic value. Right.
Yep.
So you have to have knowledge of that as well. So even though you may not be the expert in numismatics, it's important to tie yourself with some of that. Just like a numismatic person needs to understand the strategies of stacking, because they need to be able to understand, because we collect for stuff, but I also want to stack, because if the numismatic value, if the dollar tanks, people aren't going to be spending 10 grand for it. It's going to become a barter thing,
Oh yeah.
right? So we need to prepare and stack smartly as well. And so they go hand in hand. And anybody who says they don't, they have a lot to learn.
Well, I think, and I know, I know Sal's probably going to be watching this, and he's probably going to be saying something like, "Are you sure I told you I was right?" Sal and I have had this conversation in the past in regards to the stacker versus collector. He's more of a collector, whereas I'm more the stacker, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people that start this out start into it purely as a stacker, right? Yankee stacking, same thing. He got into this more of a stacking to be prepared, all that. But more and more as I'm getting more and more exposed, I've been saying I'm a 100% stacker. Well, then I went down to 95% stacker. Now I'm about 90% stacker and 10% collector, because I do have a few collectibles here now. Now, Mrs. Hoosier, my wife, she'll be like, "Oh, he's more than that." but from my point of view, I'm about 9% stacker, and she's the collector in the family, and I'm the stacker, which is beautiful, because when we went to Grove last year, first time ever, both of us ever been to a coin show, and this was really her first time being exposed to the coin community was over there in Grove. And so I take her to one coin show, and now she's hooked as a collector. I'm still the stacker. She's a collector,
man. You find something and you look at a coin and go, "Oh, that's what that's supposed to look like."
Mm-hmm.
Wow, right? Shiny. I mean, because you see specimens of things or whatnot, and you're like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
And then you hold one. It's like the
Mhm.
first time you've held a silver bar in your hand, or the first time you held a gold bar in your hand. It was
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, this is weighty," right? It's like,
You actually feel the weight, right?
yeah, this is meaty. This is not just a little flat bar on TV anymore. I'm actually holding this. It's that tangible thing, and it can light your fire. So this is a perfect segue into my next question.
Oh, okay.
What was that thing that lit that fire for you?
Well, I already told you about Mrs. Hoosier's, how she got into it just now with us going to Grove last year. How I got into it, Chuck Woolery.
I love Chuck. Chuck's good people.
I was waiting to see your response there. About 3:30 in the morning. I'm a night shifter. I think everyone that's on my channel knows I'm a night shifter. About 3:30 in the morning, I'm watching an infomercial, and I see an infomercial come on. I can't remember what he was sponsoring, but basically he was presenting this. I want to say U.S. money exchange, but I'm not 100% on that. But anyway, it was a 2:30 a.m. infomercial where he was talking about how if you had, I can't remember what he said, what the numbers were. But anyway, if you had like $75,000 of cash and of actual cash, and you had $75,000 worth of precious metals, which one would be more valuable in the 1970s, mind you? Which one would be more valuable to you today?
Yeah.
Well, we all know now, which again, knowledge I didn't know. We all know today that by design, the cash, power depreciates over time by design.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Precious metals does not do that. But I didn't know that until that infomercial with Chuck Woolery, and this was probably November, December of 2019. And so I started playing around with it a little bit, thinking, maybe I should start looking at a different vehicle to, I was saying investing at the time, but we don't invest precious metals. I learned that too. So I started thinking about, okay, maybe I should look at precious metals as an investment vehicle. Maybe get more into that. Before that, I didn't think anything about, when you think of a gold bar, you're thinking one of those big, chunky 70-pound bars, the ones that you see on TV all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what that's why I was thinking. What when they were talking about gold bars, I thought, wow, this is one of those big chunky pieces of metal, and it's like there's no way I can afford anything like that. This is a collecting precious metals is a or investing in precious metals is a young man's game, right? And I thought, nah, that's not how that's going to work for me. I can't afford to do that. But so this was like I said, November 2019 is when I really started looking at it, and then COVID hit, and well, almost 3 years to this month,
Yeah.
and that's basically when I got into it. That's when I came to realization. Okay, it's time to step up. It's really time for me to kick in a high gear in regards to. I was still saying investing at the time about investing into precious metals, and I have learned out here in the last 3 years now, with all the different pieces of information that I have been exposed to by everyone out here in the community, that you don't invest tangible precious metals. They are a store of wealth. Completely different mindset than what I had 3 years ago in regards to getting into it. I didn't think about that any more than just another way to invest. Well, you're not investing in precious metals. Now, a lot of people out here will say, well, you're not making money, then what's the point? It's not about making money, folks, when it comes to
Right.
tangible precious metals. It's about storing your wealth. And once you come to that realization, as I did 3 years ago, well, probably more like 2.5 years ago, once I came to that realization that you're not investing, you're storing your wealth. That was a complete game changer for me in regards to doing what I do when it comes to precious metals. So so people will still say investing, which I'll forgive them. They may not necessarily know the difference, but you're doing this to store your wealth, and that makes me a lot more happier to be part of this community, because I am learning that type of information, and a lot of people out here that are just getting into it. It's good information. You just have to be a sponge in regards to understanding how to think about it in regards to the best way to protect your assets. And will I ever get into that macroeconomics mentality as, say, Yankee stacking or as a salaried male has in regards to the macroeconomics of what makes the world go around when it comes to the money? No, I won't do that. There's just way too much knowledge out there. But when it comes to what I'm doing today in regards to storing my wealth by acquiring precious metals, gold, silver, barred round coins, that's what I do now. And it gives me a store of wealth, but it also protects my family should we need it in the future. And if we don't need it, then my kids will have it when they grow up, or not when they grow up, when I go on and I pass everything off to them. They'll have their start of preservation of wealth, because when I was their age 20 years ago, or when I was growing up 40 years ago, you hear a lot of people talking about how their grandfather gave them a coin, that's what got them going. Or you talk about and I know this because Sal's told me this in the past, and how my dad was into it. Yankees, that's how the Yankee got into it, because his dad exposed him to it. I never got that exposure when I was growing up, so it wasn't until 50 years later I got exposed to it, to where I'm at today. And if I had any suggestion or recommendation to anyone out here that wants to know how to get started into it, I wouldn't be thinking about yourself. I would be thinking about your next generation, your kids, or even your grandkids. Expose the precious metal to them now at a young age, because just like anything, it's just like riding a bicycle. Once you learn it, you don't ever forget. But you don't learn it. You could learn at an older age, but the earlier that you start learning, it becomes more of a secondhand type of situation. And
Right.
for me, I didn't have that growing up, and now fortunately, my kids have been exposed to it. Granted, it was about 30 years too late, about 30 years later than it could have been, but it was 50 years for me. So for me, now that my kids have been exposed to it, and now they can go on with their precious metals because they're starting to get into it now too. So it's a good thing. But yeah, if you ever had to any recommendation to give to anyone getting into this going forward, yeah, you can think about yourself and you start your stack now, but think about the kid, your generations, 1, 2 generations in the future. They're going to need the precious metals. They're going to need the shinies more than you do now. And that's, unfortunately, that is just a matter of fact as we start going down this economical abyss that we're going down, well, for a while now.
That's a really good piece of advice. One thing that, so you'll look at my channel. So I'm Frostbite Coins and Collectibles, right? So I collect
Mm-hmm.
artwork, I collect gemstones, I collect some of the other things as well. Things that in times of economic distress, you could actually barter,
Yep.
survival with.
Yep.
And so it's really important because the way I look at it, and I like what you're saying, is that my purpose for this is to invest in my kids' future, right? Now I am
Absolutely.
investing in them, right? Now if you're not investing in the actual metal, right? You're purchasing the metal,
Right.
but you're investing in that future, that legacy. So I think
Yep.
that's really sage advice.
Yep. And
I
bartering,
have to
bartering
ask.
is going to be bartering is going to be a beautiful thing. If we ever have to get back into it,
Mhm. Yeah,
silver
it
and
is.
gold is going to be where we have to be if we get back into a barter situation. Hopefully, we never have to, but if we ever do get there, silver and gold is going to be where it's at. Now, I
Fortune favors
always,
the prepared.
I always preach, that your silver in particular, constitutional silver, which whenever I say the word junk, I just cringe when I hear the word junk silver. It's like, no, it's not junk. It's constitutional. It's the history. It's the, you have to have pride when it comes to constitutional silver. So whenever I'm looking for junk silver, I'm always looking for, or even 9%er, I'm looking for constitutional silver. It's a pride thing for me. But silver, constitutional in particular, is going to be, if we ever get into a bad situation economically, silver is going to be what is what's going to allow you to survive day in, day out during a bad time. It's going to be your gold afterwards that's going to allow you to rebuild after the bad times. So that's why anyone that's out here, you need to try to have a blend of silver and gold in your stack to provide that protection should you ever need it. But yeah, barter's a big thing, and someone was just talking about that here on one of the channels here in the last couple of days. It serves, I want to say in Virginia, that somewhere in Virginia is taking either cash or silver for goods and services. I can't remember the name of the company or what they specialize in, but someone was just talking about that out here in Virginia, or out in Virginia here within the last few days. So there's still need for bartering around here, but you just don't hear about a whole lot. But if we start going where a lot of people believe where we're heading economically, I think it's going to become more and more the norm going forward.
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, Yankee had one where he was talking with his coin shop. Was it Yankee? Hold on. I think it was Yankee Stacker. Because he's the one that always deals with this coin shop, right? The older
Yeah,
gentleman.
right,
Yeah, and he had that construction guy in there where they were talking about he was there purchasing a bunch of silver rounds and silver bars.
right.
And he was like, it's not necessarily a black market, but we do lots of trade in gold and silver and bullion and stuff of that nature. Um, and it's still relevant. It may not be on the forefront, because everybody's dealing with the fiat. However, you need to have that in your back pocket because, it's not a matter of if something's going to happen. It's going to be when. It may not be long lived, but there's going to be times where, you know,
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you don't. I'm always talking about stacking your preparedness, right? I mean, that's where we're going in regards to my channel. But if you think about it, it's not necessarily a bad economical thing. That could be what a lot of people know here around here as SHTF. Case in point, what if you lose your job?
Yeah.
That's a economical hardship for may just be for you and your family, but it's still a economical hardship. What if something's going on locally in your town or city? Yeah, that's going to be a bad situation. So it doesn't have to be some global pandemic or some global economic SHTF, or it doesn't have to necessarily be aliens coming from outer space, or it doesn't have to necessarily be World War III or anything at that grand magnitude. It can be as simple as you losing your job, you
Well, yeah,
getting laid
but
off.
yeah, I mean, things happen. I mean, we look at the community right now, and there are people who selling stuff because they've been out without work or whatever, or they got really
Hmm.
sick and couldn't do something, or they suffered catastrophic injury, and so they're doing whatever they can just to survive, and they're selling off
Yeah.
the stuff that they've had. So, I mean, we're living that now. We're seeing that now. That's a day to day occurrence.
Yep.
Um,
And
but
it's just it can be so minuscule all the way up to global, and
yeah,
that's probably one of the things about. And I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to refer to the Department of Numismatics, the Department of Numismatics channel. You know, he actually inspired me about talking about your sphere of influence. I don't know if you know the Don or not, but anyway, Department of Numismatics, he talks about your sphere of influence, and it goes right, it goes perfectly in line with why you stack. So your sphere and influence, and John, if I butcher this, I apologize in advance, John Boleg.
I'll edit it. Okay, we'll verify it
Okay,
and edit it.
but I'm sure I'll be cool with it. Anyway, the spirit of influence is, you and yourself. You have your spirit of influence, you personally, and then it branches out to your family, then it branches out to your extended family, you branch out to the neighborhood, and it just grows larger and larger. Your spirit of influence could be as simple as you, or it could be global if you get to that point in life. But you have to be able to protect yourself at many levels of influence. And what we do right here right now is we're protecting myself and my family. So that spirit of influence is being protected by stacking. Could I help support the neighborhood? Absolutely. And that's one of the key essentials of stacking is you have to develop your relationship with your neighbors to help build a stronger neighborhood, to help support each other. It goes back to process improvement.
Right.
You may not know all the skills, you may not have all the hardware, you may not have all the skills, but if you develop that relationship with your friends, your family, and your neighborhood, then you can combine that together to help be a stronger neighborhood in all aspects. Whoops, sorry about that. So yeah, it's
And
it's
it's finding value, right? So
yeah.
one thing in process improvement that I look at is it value added? And
Yeah.
there's nothing about stacking that's not value added because people who have a hard time saving money can buy gold and silver and they're saving money because that money's being stored in a commodity that they own, that they have possession of,
Right.
versus buying shoes and purses and handbags and backpacks and you know other whatever it is that your vice is. Um, I stack for my family security. That's the reason that I stack. But I collect just because I like it. Right? So I'm
Yeah.
more collector than I am stacker. But whenever I buy something, I'm asking myself, is this a smart buy? Right?
Hmm.
Is this something that I should be buying? Or should I be buying, the silver buffaloes instead of, spending the $400 on a coin? I can spend and buy, 20 buffaloes for, 125, 130 bucks more.
Yeah.
Uh, what's the better deal? Well, buying the buffaloes is the better deal, right? Because you're going to get that value later on.
Well, that goes
So,
back to the 2021 Morgans and Peace when they re-released them in 2021.
yeah,
The 2021 Peace and Morgans were 3 times more expensive than your out of the bargain bin half dollars or your piece dollars or Morgans at the time. At the time, the Morgans and piece were like $23 a coin or something like that. And then you turn around and you can go out, or you can go out and buy yourself a 2021 piece or Morgan dollar for like 60 or 70 bucks. I was like, no, from a stacker's point of view, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I'd rather take that 60 or $70 and go out and buy myself, some old junk silver. Oh, I said the J word, constitutional silver.
Constitutional silver. Yeah. Or buy yourself a good, nice 2-ounce round.
Yeah, you can do
You
that
know.
too.
Yeah.
But, to each their own, because, it basically comes down to the fact that it's your cash. But I rather save it, because I won't say the I word there. I rather put it towards savings than I would and than going out for the pretty factor. Now, not saying that there are some really beautiful coins out there. The Perth Mint, the Germanium Mint, all the other mints out there in the world have beautiful coins. I love to get some beautiful coins, but it goes back to what you said. Is it worth the cost of that beautiful coin? Whereas I could use that same fiat amount and put it towards something that's more stack worthy. Because, you're not going, if I buy a $300 coin, it's not necessarily stack worthy. I won't be able to buy $300 worth of constitutional silver or even generic rounds at $300 to stack my stack.
But it doesn't mean that stacking or collecting's wrong.
Nah.
Because it's to each their own.
Yeah, it goes back to, I started purely as a pure stacker, and a lot of people out here will say, yes, Hoosier, you're no longer a pure stacker. We've seen your books. So we're down to that 9% percentile now when it comes to, I'm 9% stacker, 10% collector. And I'm happy with that now. But yeah, will we go out and buy a $300 coin? No. Now, that being said, I did pick up a, from Mrs. Hoosier, I picked up a 1865 sitting Liberty, I believe, as a gift. 165 bucks at my coin shop. But that was a gift. That's a different situation there. It's not, and I knew when I bought it, it wasn't stack worthy, but I bought it for her. So that makes my stacking, my wife very happy. Happy wife, happy life.
Happy life.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because she kept looking, because she's been looking for a Sea of Liberty. It's like she's starting to get into that collecting thing. I'm like, let's go to the coin shop. So we go to the coin shop. She's looking through the cases and she sees that Sea of Liberty. I'm like, that's nice. 165. Okay. Went back the next day and got it for her.
Yeah. Well, and again, it depends on, what drives you. So I want to kind of ask you on that collecting end, do you have a piece that you pull out every once in a while, whether it be a gold bar, a silver bar, gold, silver coin, a collector's piece? Is there something that you look at and go, damn, I love this piece?
I absolutely have one piece, and I'll show it to you, because it is, I remember Yankees saying to me some time ago, don't marry your coins. Well, I married this particular coin. Let me go get the coin.
Okay. Right, and we'll pause this.
One coin that rules them all.
Yeah, I've got one of those right now. It's my 1873 gold dollar.
What I will do is I will switch over to my overhead camera to best show it to you. Because how I normally do it,
I'll trim all of this.
what I normally do, I take one of my Dansco books like this. I use that as the backdrop, and I put the coin on top of the Dansco book, and then I bring my camera down like that.
Nice.
And then I switch over to the camera.
Ooh, I look pasty and nasty. What
I
happened?
switch over to the camera.
Uh-oh. So let me tell you how to do that. Can you hear me? If you do, go back to your other camera. Are you there? Go back to your other camera. There you go.
That
So
was
the way
weird.
to change that is to go click on settings
Uh-huh.
and then change your camera in there under camera.
Yeah, I thought I did that. There we go. All right, there it is. You still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
All right.
And if you go and you actually click on your camera, it'll disconnect because it's not the one tied to here.
All right. Yeah, my overhead camera is going through OBS, whereas my face camera is going direct. But if I switch over to the kitty cam, as I call it, let me zoom in on this guy. Focus.
Gold
Focus.
Buffalo.
Focus. Hang on. Let me get this thing to focus here. Come on. Focus over. Focus for me.
It's a pretty coin.
Configure. Hang on. Let me zoom in here or get focused here. Yeah, right.
There we go.
There it is. So yeah, this right here is my pride and joy right there. Hang on, let me turn that off there on the corner. You don't need to see that. You don't need to see that. Turn that guy off, and turn this guy off. Okay. All right. Now that should be it. Can you still hear me?
Looking good.
Okay. So this here is my pride and joy when it focuses.
Yeah, it's a good looking coin, bud.
That is a
It's a full ounce one. That's a 1 ounce gold buffalo, right?
There it is. Yeah, this is a.
God, that's beautiful.
Well, I'll tell you the history about this bad boy. This is a 2008 Gold Buffalo silver or Gold Buffalo proof coin. This is actually a proof Gold Buffalo.
Wow.
And this is my pride and joy. This is the one I married. That when Yankee said, "Don't marry your coins," well, I married this guy right here. This is my pride and joy. This is really about my only pride and joy. Everything else I have is stack worthy material. The history on this guy right here, I was stacking a lot of silver back when I first got into. I was stacking weight of silver. When I was doing this, the silver spot price was about $15-16 an ounce.
Okay.
The GSR gold to silver ratio was 110 to 1.
Oh, wow.
And I was just stacking the hell out of the silver, anything, bars, rounds, particularly. And I got up to 77 ounces of silver, which was within about 3 or 4 months of time. I had from 0 silver up to 77 ounces of silver. September of 2020. That's when the prices went stupid crazy in regards to the spot price or the premium price of silver. I stopped buying silver and I focused on, and I remember watching the video from, at the time, his channel name was Silver Bridges. And he was talking about how you could trade your silver for your gold. but you may have to pay for it. I thought, okay, I want to get a piece of gold. So I got a hold of my LCS. I said, I got 77 ounces of gold. What can I get for 77 ounces? Or I got 77 ounces of silver. I wish I had 77 ounces of gold.
Yeah, I was about to say, damn, you're stacked, dude.
So I have 77 ounces of silver. What can you do for me for 77 ounces of silver in regards to gold? He's like, come to the shop. It's like, all right. So I went to the shop. And he pulled this out of his safe, this 2008 Gold Buffalo proof. And I said, I got 77 ounces of silver. I'll do an even trade for you. Really? Yeah, absolutely. So he traded me this buffalo, my 77 ounces of silver for this buffalo right here. And so I bought all that silver at 70 or at 110 and spot price was about 100. I was about $15-16 an ounce at the time. When I picked up this guy here, the GSR had dropped from 110 to 1 down to 77 to 1. Hence the 77 ounces of silver. Mm-hmm. And the premium, the spot price went up from $15-16 all the way up to $23 within that 3 or 4 months time. So that is the reason why this is my pride and joy right here, because I was able to take 77 ounces of silver and got one proof silver or one gold buffalo for without any extra cash. This was an even trade from silver to gold, and the only reason why that occurred is because I allowed the GSR to tighten up from 110 down to 77, while at the same time watching the spot price of silver go through the roof.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is my pride and joy, and yeah, this will be the last piece of gold. I'll if I ever part with my gold, that'll be the last piece of gold. But that being said, so that's my pride and joy. That's going to be around for bitter end. But I also have started to get into 10-grammer gold bars, as this is my stack stuff here. All this stuff is my stack worthy material.
Nice.
This is what I'm starting. In fact, I have to place an order this month. I gave myself a commitment to where I would acquire 10 grams of gold every month for the next 12 months. So I started in November, skipped December because I was thinking I got in December. It was actually November. This guy right here, I got at spot at SD Bullion. So I'm like, so when I saw this spot deal come out, I'm like, hell yeah. So I bought that 10 grammer at spot. It was like a Black Friday deal, I believe. So I got this at spot.
I remember that deal. Yeah, that was I was just coming on the scene around that time frame.
So that was my spot deal, which was my first spot deal ever. I thought it was sweet. And then I skipped this November. I don't know why, but I skipped November, and then I picked up one in January. And then I'm going to be placing an order for another one in February. And that is a personal goal for the next 12 months, is to buy 10 grams of gold every month, because that's about what I can afford reasonably without breaking the bank. But yeah, that is this guy right here is my pride and joy. That's the one. This is the one coin that really got my juices flowing in regards to I guess the collector side of me, I guess. Because I could have taken that 77 ounces and got something a little bit more affordable. I could have gotten maybe smaller pieces. I could have gotten fractional gold or something, but no. This was in his safe, so I guess I snagged it. And then again, it was an even trade, so it didn't cost me any more money than what I had already put into the silver.
That's a cool story, man. And it's even better coin.
So that's pretty cool. And I've had to give up some of my gold in the last couple of years, and it sucked. But this guy right here, no. Not until the bitter end.
Well, outstanding. Man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time.
But
this has been a lot of fun.
But yeah, it goes right back. You know what? Let me switch back to the other camera here. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it won't crap out on me. Switch. Hey, it worked. See, that's how it's supposed to work. But yeah, this guy right here, that is my pride and joy, folks. And you don't want to marry it, but I did this one. But it's definitely the one coin I fell in love with, and I'm not going to give it up anytime soon.
No, and if you don't need to, why should you?
Right, because
Yeah.
again, this is precious metals, tangible precious metals has always been a long-term thing. It's never meant to be a quick rich get rich quick scheme. It's never meant to be a investment. It's never meant to make money. It's to store your wealth. So I'm making that personal commitment to where I give myself 10 grams of gold every month for the next 12 months, and it goes into my permastack, as they call it, and it will stay there unless I need it. Hopefully I never do, but it's there if we do need it.
Outstanding. Well, good strategy. One thing that I always say, stick to your strategy. Get away from that FOMO, as Uncle Sal calls it,
Yep.
that fear of missing out. Quit doing
Yep.
that knee-jerk reaction. Stick to
Well,
your strategy.
the
Stick to
Black
your
Friday
plan.
deal, I couldn't. That was I
Well,
had a knee
no.
jerk on that one.
So, but there's a difference between identifying a good buying opportunity
And then
and
FOMO.
sticking to your strategy,
Yeah.
right? Don't pass up good buying opportunities. If you can do them. But don't buy because you're afraid of missing a deal.
Right.
Because that deal may not be a deal, right? Now, if you're not paying anything over spot, that's always a good deal.
That's always a good deal.
Always a
Exactly.
good deal, right? So that's not that wasn't a bad move.
Now, but
So
I know every so often something will come across where, hey, you're getting a really good deal. Better buy it. Better buy it. It's like I look at it, I'm like, nah, I'll wait. Because for me, it is for the long term. It is for the long game. So
right.
I'll
Well,
buy.
remember when silver price tanked for like that 2 days, right?
Yeah, I got like to about 2021, something like that.
It dropped down to like I think it was 22.92
Yeah,
was the bottom, and I bought 20 silver buffaloes at $1.50 over spot.
that's pretty
And
okay. That's not bad.
no, it was
No,
awesome. And then the next day it was back up to about $3 over spot, 3.50 over spot. And it was
good
just
time in there.
being right in the right place. And I was
Hmm.
looking, and they said, I called and I said, hey, I want to buy. And they're like, well, if you buy right now, we'll give it to you at, two. It's like, is that the best you can do? And they're like, well, it's kind of dropped. Would you buy it 150 over? And I was like, yeah, give me 20 of them. Send me a tube.
Put up your poker face at the same time.
Yeah, I was trying. Well, I mean, we're on the phone. I mean, we're not doing the
Oh,
video
okay.
thing, but it was like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, go ahead and send me a tube. And I hung up like, oh my God, that was so cool.
So what was the question is what was your premium and percentage? Because I'm hearing right now the percentage for your premium percentage for your silver is like 25%, 30% right now. I haven't checked here lately. But I know at one
I don't,
point it was
yeah, I don't know. I
extremely
don't know the
high. The
answer to
ratio
that.
was extremely high.
I bought, the price was flat 23. I think we're just above 22 now.
Percent?
Um, huh?
You mean percent?
No, dollar
Oh,
value.
okay.
Um, but I don't know. I don't know what the value is. And I'm not the person to talk about
That was
it,
another thing I can
ratios
mention.
and all that other stuff. That
That's another
I've
thing that I
got
can mention
so
really
much
quick
to
here.
learn.
Silver's premiums is stupid high in comparison to gold.
Yes.
Case
Yeah.
case in point, this guy right here, this 10 grammer I bought last month. How much do you think I paid for this 10 gram
Okay.
in percentage? Let me ask you that. In a percentage, how much percent more in premium did
8%,
I pay for that? How much?
4 to 8%.
3.5.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. Typically, your fractional gold is a lot more expensive premium wise than your 1 ouncers or greater. So I got this guy at 3.5% over spot, which
That's
is
good.
extremely good for fractional. I would expect 3.5-4% for a full ounce of gold, not for a fractional piece of gold. So those deals are out here. I got this through SD Bullion, so I
Yeah,
don't know if that deal's still out there or not, but
I
the
think
deal then.
mine would have been, so if we're looking at it, I probably about 8% is what I got.
Yeah,
My,
that seems to be about the going price is about
yeah,
8%.
about 7 or 8% is what I got um, my silver buffaloes for.
But if you notice, and the reason why the premium is probably lower, this isn't a coin. This isn't even a round. This is a gold bar.
Yeah.
Gold bars are always more valuable, are always less in premium than your gold coins or even your gold rounds.
And they're running between like 660 and 680 right now for,
Yeah.
right?
And
Somewhere in that area.
the funny thing about that information I just shared about that
Mm-hmm.
6 months ago or a year and a half ago, I had no idea about that information. I didn't know that this is cheaper or this is going to be more expensive in the premium aspect, but in this case it wasn't. I didn't know that bars were cheaper than coins or rounds, and I didn't know rounds were cheaper than coins. I do now, and it goes all the way back to this goes all the way back to the channel as a whole. Is that information is out there, but it's scattered about. Let's bring everyone together, gather, and talk about it as a community, as I call the Who family, because people that are subscribed to me or are members of my channel, we are, I consider you guys Who family members, Who family. And community sounds so sterile. I rather, if you think about it, we're more of a family than we are a community. We have plenty of situations to where
Yeah.
we have a lot of gatherings. We just have a lot of talk, but we always have our good times. We as the family, we all share our good times. We all share our losses. We all share grief.
Yep.
We lost 5 or 6 people off the top of my head last year for whatever reasons. We lost 5 or 6 people out of the community, but community is so sterile. We're a family, and yes, we are going to have some discourse within the family, and we're always going to have bickerings amongst the family. And there's going to be times that someone from outside the family is going to try to do something to hurt someone within the family. That's a family, because we will all turn and go after that one particular person that is causing suffering for someone in his family.
Oh
within
yeah.
the community.
Yeah, and there's been a couple really good recent examples of that.
So it is, it is a family as a whole. And yeah, we do have our towers, I guess you can call you. You have your auctioners,
Mhm.
you have your coin roll hunters, you have, this, that, and the other. But when the family gets word of something bad happening to someone in the family, be it personal or out here in the YouTube land, we do rally together. And
Yeah, I agree. I've seen
we
that.
we do support people. And if that isn't a family, then what the hell is it? It's more than a community. And I'm so blessed to be part of that community, but to be part of that family, because having that relationship with everyone out here in the community, or out here in the family, out here in YouTube land, having that relationship makes what we do here more enjoyable, because you get to have these conversations.
Right.
We can go to like Fountain Berry, for example, and we can just be raunchy as hell if we want to, and he's good with that, because everyone knows it's all in fun and games.
George.
It's all in fun and games.
George
and
is a nut.
I'll get on there.
It makes me laugh.
I get onto his channel, and first thing I say, I put into the chat is, "You suck, George." Everyone laughs because we all know it's in fun and games.
Yeah,
and he does too. It's just part of the being part of this being part of this family that makes it even more inspiring, more enjoyable to be part of.
Yeah, and he truly is like a brother, right?
Hmm.
Because you can just razz on him and he'll laugh and
Oh
he'll
yeah,
give it right back, and it's a lot of fun.
yeah.
But one thing that I've seen, and again, I've only been doing this, I think my YouTube channel is 3.5 months old, right? I'm 400 plus subscribers in that time frame. But what I've really appreciated about this is the fact that I've had people reach out to me that have extremely good channels and say, "Hey, let's talk to you about this. Let's pull you alongside and let's kind of give you
Hmm.
some insight. You know, watch this area, watch these people, watch these things, stay
Yeah, I've
away
had a few of
from."
those. I've had a few of
Yeah,
those conversations too.
and so it's like I really appreciate that because as somebody new, I don't know what to ask,
Right. Yeah.
right? And people recognize that, they know that, and they go, you seem like a good fella. Let's bring you in and make sure that you understand kind of the rules of the road, the basics of things. And so when you say family, I I, I kind of lean towards that. I think that's a much better analogy than and you listen to Coin Crew, right? They talk about their family. You talk about
Hmm.
Ida Herring, they talk about their family.
Hmm.
So I think you're right in the regard of staying away from the word community because as a whole, it is a community, but it really is a coin and a stacking family.
Well, I think that if people would put this more into a family mindset, I think that would actually allow a lot of people inside to become closer together and respect and treat each other more respectfully. And I think that would actually also allow people coming into the family to be more inclusive.
Yeah.
And because, when I first came on the scene 3 years ago, man, we did a lot of talking, but it took me 6 months before I really, or 3 months before I really got into engaging with people in the community or in the family because, I felt so, I felt so outsider. And it was it was being included as part of this gathering. That's why I started my channel as such, my stream as such. It was being part of this gathering that really inspired me to really start putting more emphasis into why we do what we do out here in the community. I'll say this time,
Right.
but it also allows others coming into the community to be more inclusive by just welcoming people with open arms. Because I came into this how I came into this as a side tangent looking into prepping, and so I found some prepping channels, and you have some really commando type of prepping channels. I'm not into that. And then I found a couple more like my mindset type of channels, and I really enjoyed that. And I'm still subscribed to them. And then I stumbled into the coin community or the coin family or the YouTuber side of precious metals, and I haven't looked back. And I'm glad I did because there is just so much knowledge out here that can be
Yeah.
shared
Wow.
amongst
Yeah.
everyone if you know where to look and know who to ask.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
When I started looking at wanting to do these interviews, it was like I reached out to two as one. I reached out to Sal. I reached out to Constitutional. I reached out to uh, just found it. I reached out to Mike Benucci. I reached out to found it buried. Now George still hasn't. He's like, we got to do this. It's like, well, come on, man. You do 4-hour streams. We have time. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, But when people, and I asked, Coin Crew, and I asked Uncle Sal, and Sal was like, "Yeah, sounds like fun, right? What do you want to do? And let's do this." And when you think about somebody who's been around for 10 years, who knows the game, and it's just like, "Yeah, I'll help you out. That sounds like a lot of fun. This would be really cool. I got some information I can share with you." It was like, "Wow, cool! Like that's Sal." you
Well,
know?
I tell you what, Frostbite. February 2021, I believe it was. Pretty sure it's 21. February 2021. Yeah. Back then, Plumber Stacker and I were collaborating together on a Stackers Gathering. When we first turned on a Stackers Gathering, he was my co-host at the time, and he had some family situations that he had to attend to back down in uh, North Carolina, one of the two Carolinas. He wasn't able to attend, so I was going to run solo on a Stackers Gathering one night. I'm like, well, this sucks. Because I was still fresh into I this, mind you, this was only 4 months, maybe 3 months after firing up the channel as a whole.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, this sucks. What am I going to do now? I can't run this solo. And that's why I told Yankee 3 months prior, I said, I can't do this by myself. I got to have a co-host to do the Stackers Gathering. He's like, oh, let me introduce you to Plumber. And that's how Plumber and I met. And so he had some family things that he had to attend in February. So I thought, well, what the hell am I going to do? So I got to thinking, I was like, I wonder. So I emailed Salivate Metal. Hey, are you available to come on and co-host with me for a night? Yeah, sure. I'll be there. It's like, all right, cool. And then I thought, I wonder, just in case if Sal gets busy or whatever, I emailed Yankee Stack. I said, hey, Yankee, can you help me out? It's like, yeah, sure. That night we did a Stackers Gathering with myself, Salivate Metal, and Yankee Stack, and all on the panel.
That would be
It,
so much fun.
it was beautiful. Yankee was actually honored to have Sal on the channel with himself and myself that evening because again, like you said, Sal's been around a while,
Yeah,
so
but he's
Yankee
so
was
gracious.
really
He's so
honored to
kind.
have to be on the panel with myself and Sal that evening just because Sal was there, and to have some, I don't want to say big dog players, but to have some players like Sal and Yankee on at the same time was beautiful. And that's just part of what we do out here as a community. We want to get out here and share
Yeah,
the knowledge
exactly.
and support each other. And I have always said to this day, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I have always said if I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I have a breakdown and I happen to have an internet connection, I know I can go live. And if someone is in the area that can give me a hand, they will respond. If my car
Yeah,
breaks down in the middle of
absolutely.
nowhere, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm almost 95% confident that if that would ever happen, I could pick up my phone, which of course I would be calling, AAA or whatever anyway. But in the meantime, I could have someone there with me that might be able to give me a hand while we're waiting for AAA, if they're in the area, right? At a minimum, at least I can be entertained during that time while I'm waiting for AAA or whomever to show up. But that's what it is, though. You are
Right.
there to support each other and to
Yeah.
have that camaraderie with everyone out here is beautiful. And for me, as for myself as part of this community, it's not about the collecting of precious metals. And from that mindset, it's not necessarily about the stacking of the precious metals. It's about the community. And that to me is what really drives it home for me,
Yeah.
because I could very easily do the same thing with other communities, and go find another community and that I want to be part of and enjoy that community. It doesn't necessarily have to be about precious metals or prepping. It could be any community out here. But knowing that I can have that, but what I have seen, and many people have stated to me in the past, there are lots of communities out here on YouTube, but there's only a few that are as inclusive and as embracing as the coin community. And that makes a big difference in my world. So,
There's a lot of communities that are cutthroat.
yeah.
They are only out to get likes. They are only out to get subs. They're about monetizing. And you're going to have a couple here in this community as well. However,
You're always going to
yeah,
have some bad
yeah.
apples. That's just how it is.
But I have found, and keep my glasses up a little bit. I have found and been amazed by the outpouring of just generosity. And
Unfortunately, sometimes that generosity does come out of price and we get scammed. It's
yeah,
happened.
yeah,
It's happened a few times since I've been around. I know it will happen in the future, but it's almost like when a loved one passes, you grieve during that period of grief while you're mourning the loss of whomever. And Queen Elizabeth said the best, love is the price that you pay for loss.
mhm.
So, or I got backwards. Loss is what is
Loss
the
is the
price that
price
you
of
pay
being
for
for
love.
love. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you meant.
Yeah. So your loss is what is the price that you pay for love. And so in that aspect, yes, um, we are very generous out here in the community. We support each other and we do love each other. And if someone comes in and scams the community, yes, there is loss. And yes, there are people who will be upset, rightfully so. But in comparison to the family as a whole, in regards to being supportive and there for each other and all that, it's just a small price. Losing
But
a
there's
couple
also,
$1,000s.
yeah, but there's also a lot of learning that comes. There's
Hmm.
also better understanding. There's also being able to prepare and provide and protect others
Yeah.
in the future. And so while it may hit or hurt somebody, and we hear about it frequently in the short time that I've been here, I've heard of a couple of these items,
Yeah.
and they've been very clear, don't do this, stay away from this, be careful with this. Um, and that is so valuable because I heard everybody knows who Mr. Beast is, but they were talking about working in a community and when you're trying to build something that if you do it by yourself and you make a mistake, you learn from it. And then you do it again, you make a mistake, you learn from it. You do it again, you'll make a mistake, you learn from it. And over the course of a year, you may learn 5 or 6 things. But if you have 10 people or 5 people and they're doing the same thing, you've just gained 5 additional years of experience in that year.
That's true. And
And
you have different points of view. It's not
yeah,
just because
right.
you may be thinking in your head, well, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? You didn't do a damn thing wrong. You have 4 or 5 other people that come back and say, yeah, this happened to me, or don't do this. And you're like, oh, it's not just me. This is something I need to be aware of for future reference. Don't touch the hot stove. Don't touch the hot stove.
Ow! What'd
Yeah,
you do?
exactly.
I touched
Don't
the
go
hot
ahead, touch
stove.
that. Don't touch the hot stove. Why not? It'll hurt you. And then you turn around and do it anyway. But if you see other people getting hurt by touching the hot stove, you might think twice about maybe I shouldn't touch that hot stove.
Well, and there's always an adage that my grandfather used to do, and it was like you have a really stinky sock, and a guy smells it. It's like, oh my, ugh, that's gross. And the next guy grabs it, and goes, oh, oh my God, that's gross. Oh, try this, right?
Someone's
That's
going to stop and realize, don't smell the sock.
right. I told
Oh,
myself up. We're guys, and we're people. We do that kind of stuff. But if we see somebody getting hurt, or we see a loved one getting scammed, or we're going to make sure that people are aware. We're going to make sure that
oh
people
yeah.
know. And you talked about that a number of times in this conversation. And I am
And word
absolutely,
spreads really fast around
yeah,
here too.
and I am absolutely appreciative of the community. And again, so, well, Hoosier, we are well over an hour into this. I
Has it been
greatly,
an hour already?
it has
Man,
been an hour
wow.
already.
Hour and 20 minutes almost.
Time
20.
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. But it's always enjoyable to do this because collaborating, be it
It is.
well
It's
how
a
you're doing
lot
it
of
this way or doing it live is a beautiful thing because it's always good to get the to be able to feed off each other. And that's why my channel's so successful when it comes to Sackers Gathering and Silver Stacker Bingo, because to see everyone's interactions whenever I'm spinning my balls. It's about
Yep.
playing my game, and people will win and lose, and everyone's like, "This sucks, Hoosier. Your balls suck, Hoosier." It's like, tough. Get over it. Keep spinning the cage. But it's just it's always fun just to be able to provide. You could say it's entertainment, but I guess it is entertainment. You provide entertainment for the family, and to be able to sit there and razz each other all day long, like we do with George all the time. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad to have met everyone out here, and yourself included. And
Well, thank you.
you're
It's
you know
an
you're
honor
at
to meet
you're
you.
already you're already pushing to 500 subscribers. It took me it took me probably a year to get to that mark, and only because your way of doing your channel is different from my way of doing the channel, and
Yeah.
different to someone else's way of doing the channel. And it's just that's just how it is, and you just try to support everyone the best you can, and give them a like every so often, and subscribe to their channel, because it doesn't cost you a damn thing
No,
to subscribe to the channel. So subscribe to the
standard
channel, and
respect
share
doesn't cost anything, right? Just
and share the love. Share the
general
love.
kindness. Yep. Hoosier, I have appreciated this. Thank you so much for accepting my request and coming on and doing this. Um, it is no longer 3 o'clock in the morning. It is now 4:30.
It's prime time for me, baby.
So I'm going to go down and wake my wife up, and she'll be like, "Are you still working?" But
But it's fun work, and that's another thing about this as a whole, and what we do out here in the community, is it doesn't feel like work.
no.
I
We're
can't
honored in that
count.
regard.
I can't
Yeah.
count the hours that I've been down here in the studio doing something. It's just baffling how much time I spend down here, but it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
work by any stretch of the imagination. And that's probably the most beautiful thing about everything, is having that family, having a good time with everyone, building the channel, building my brand, building the studio, just putting all this effort into it. But at the end of the day, it's not work. It's
No.
fun.
No, it's a joy.
Now, if I could just do the same thing in real life and make a bunch of money at the same time, I'd be good with that.
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
Frostbite, thank you very much for having me up.
Take care of
It's a
yourself.
pleasure.
And, again, we'll see you around.
We will see you face to face. I'll shake your hand in Grove. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds like a plan.